You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
If you want to have guarantees, you have to buy a washing machine.
Monte with a scooping header.
We don't lose a match, either we win or we learn. And today we learned.
Отдача, Остин! Все-таки забил!
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Bella. Onside, 1-0. Buffon shot! Oh my word!
Unbelievable. We ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast and newsletter dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans, and available right here on southamptondelivery.com. My name is Matt Markstone. I am the host of the show. No matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thanks for making the show part of your day. I hope that you enjoy it. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. This is, according to most people, the most wonderful time of the year. I've made my stance clear. It will be made clear in the episode if you don't know it. But Merry Christmas. We got, I think, what we wanted. We got 3 points from Aston Villa. We got 3 goals. Ings with a brace. Stevens with a header from a corner. Not a lot to complain about in that match for us, other than maybe the fact that we didn't quite come away with the clean sheet. And maybe we could have asked for some other people to put away some goals too. But anyway, that's maybe asking a bit much. You have to be realistic with what you put on the Christmas wish list. And I think 3 points from Villa, being out of the relegation zone, so we can have a relegation zone free Christmas. Not a bad thing for us, although the match is coming up. You know, we'll see. We'll get to that with this week's guest. On the show this week is Tom Mason. You can find him on Twitter at Tom_Mason18 or on Instagram at TMaso19. He was at the match on Saturday in the away end. And this is the second time in as many years that Tom has been on this exact episode, the kind of Christmas special episode. Same result as last year as well. So don't worry, I've booked Tom for every single episode from here on out, because or every away episode from here on out, because 3-1 away wins will keep us rolling right along. And I joke, of course, because that's not probably realistic. Look at the schedule. You'll see what I'm talking about. But anyway, you can follow Tom. You can follow this show if you wish. But really, I think we're all just pretty excited about everything that's going on. So I'd like to take a second again to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday season. I hope that you are enjoying your family. And if you're sneaking away from your family to listen to this episode, hopefully you're getting it in before Boxing Day. Maybe this is what you're listening to on Boxing Day, or while you're wrapping presents or making Christmas dinner, whatever it is. But enjoy it. Enjoy your family. And happy 3 points to Saints, who now, like we said, are out of the relegation zone. And I'm quite excited about all of that. So let's jump into the conversation with Tom. No time to kind of mess around here. We'll get you to it. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the time with your family. We'll get to my conversation with Tom now. We'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Tom Mason. You can find Tom on Twitter at Tom_Mason18 and on Instagram at TMaso19. Tom, you've been on the show before. You brought it to my attention, and it turns out exact same week, exact same time, exact same result. Maybe you are the good luck charm and the Christmas cheer that I need in my life.
Yeah, I hope so, Matt. I hope I can do the same again next year. Hopefully it's another big away day win. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm delighted to be back on. Can't wait to speak to you again.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. And I'm looking forward to it. It's nice to be kind of to start the Christmas period or the holiday season with a win. I'm a teacher. We got off of school on Friday, settled in on Saturday morning for the victory. Went out, played terribly. May have kicked one of my good friends in the knee real hard, but we won, so I don't care.
That's good.
We're here. So anyway, I just wanted to, before we jump into it, because I mean, we have actual good news to talk about, so we don't have to avoid talking about Southampton for as many minutes as possible, as we've done on recent episodes. But you're still doing sports journalism. You're still part of the team covering Bristol Rovers. But like, can I just ask you like what that's been like over the last year of uni to be able to do that, and kind of some of the things you've maybe learned about the team or some of the things you picked up while you're doing that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's been brilliant. So I started Bristol Rovers at the start of this season, sort of like September time, covering mostly home games, occasional away games. And it's just been like doing sort of like match reports and live tweeting the game on Bristol Live. A lot of people listening will probably have heard of it, similar sort of thing to the 7 Daily Echo online as well. Match reports, player ratings, writing up the manager's quotes after. And yeah, it's been really valuable and something which will be able to be really helpful for my like CV and stuff moving forward. So yeah, it's been a great opportunity and something that's going to look good moving forward.
Yeah, that's the good part. Like I mean, getting to be in there and getting to see that, I think will be good. And like you said, if somebody wanted to go into sports journalism, you kind of gotta do it. And I'm sure you'd rather do a little bit more creative writing than just match reports, but you got to start somewhere. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I don't mind like writing match reports, but I quite enjoy it. Like, yeah, any experience I can get at the moment is valuable, and I'm going to take it. I'm not going to like sort of shy away from it, so it's perfect, really.
Yeah. Not anybody that I've talked to on here, but I've had friends who, while we were going through college and university, they were looking for jobs, and they're like, "Well, I don't want to take that one because it's like, I'm a little better than that." And I was like, "You're not.
Yeah, just take it.
You just got to do it, man. Like,
yeah,
you just do it, and you do it with a smile, and good things happen." So good for you, and they're doing all right? Like they're not playing really terribly.
Well. Yeah, they're fourth in the table. They just changed the manager actually because he's moved back up to Sheffield where he's from to manage Mansfield.
Oh, okay.
Because the commute was like really bad for him. Basically, if you don't know, Sheffield from Bristol was probably like 3 hours, and was struggling with that. So they've just changed their manager and got a new one in. So that's interesting. And they're in the same league, the Southampton team down the road from us. So I'm looking forward to going down to there later in the season.
Yeah, and I guess that's a different thing, and I guess it's something that happens in football. But I mean, I have friends who were Arsenal supporters who their entire time supporting Arsenal had only had one manager until very recently. So I guess it's all part of it. So it'll be good. But I mean, you were at the game yesterday or Saturday, I should say.
Saturday, yeah.
I guess it was the last thing you did before you came down for back to Southampton for the holiday. But I guess what was your feeling going into it? We had played relatively well against the teams that had been around us, and Villa, of course, were right there with us, and we were able to jump them in the table as a result of the match. But like, I mean, for you going into it, what was your expectation of the match?
I was expecting it to be a very sort of tight affair, like very little between the sides, as the sort of table suggested before the match. Only them above us on goal difference, but for us to sort of come into the game and just to play on the front foot, play such an attacking brand of football, and sort of play them off the park really, and like they didn't have really an answer till the second half. I was quite surprised, and it made me feel good because watching Villa then reminded me of them when they were last in the Premier League. The fans were getting sort of very toxic, a lot of like fans leaving early, so it bodes well, and I'm happy with the result and looking forward to the Chelsea game in a few days' time.
You think we have? I mean, we're jumping way ahead here, but like, did you get a chance to watch Chelsea against Spurs yesterday? Yeah,
I watched again. They were incredible, weren't they?
Yeah, that's not what I wanted to see.
No, definitely not. Their attacking play looked really good. Spurs have been better lately, so I was a bit surprised that I expected Spurs to win that game. But Chelsea's defence looked strong as well, which has been something that's maybe not been quite there this season. So I was a bit worried about that, but hopefully we can pick off where we left off against Villa and get a good result, maybe a draw.
Yeah, I think anything from there will be great. And on like a total US bias personal note, like when Lampard sat Pulisic, I wanted Chelsea to lose. It just shows you where I'm at with that. But I think that's fine. But no, they looked good. Especially, I am worried watching Willian cut in and then score that first goal, and just think about the right side of our defense and what that'll look like. It does not fill me with a ton of confidence knowing that he's going to be up against Cedric probably. But that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll worry about that after the. I don't want to. There's no reason to bring that up right now. We have good things to talk about.
Definitely, yeah.
So let's do that. So we'll focus on the positives. We'll worry about the rest in a little bit. So team sheet. I mean, I think it was as expected. McCarthy, Cedric, Stevens, Bednarak, Bertrand, Hoiberg, Ward-Prowse, then Armstrong, Redmond, Ings, and Long. Armstrong comes in as a result of Djenepo's injury. And I guess Buffal was still not fit to start. So I know some people were a little upset that Che Adams was out of the lineup again, but I think that's the best we can do right now. I think that's maybe the best we've played, and that lineup doing the things that it's doing right now should probably stay together.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think with Che Adams, a lot of people are saying that because of his links with Birmingham. Obviously, we signed him from Birmingham. Birmingham being Villa's rivals, so I think a lot of people wanted that, but you can't just play him just because of that reason. Ings and Long have been brilliant together in the last sort of few weeks. So yeah, I like the lineup. Armstrong came in, did really well. Obviously, the defence has started to look a little bit better as well. So yeah, I was happy with the lineup, and I think it should stay, like you say, for the next few games at least.
Yeah, and I mean, Ings even came out and spoke about Long and kind of the work he does, and I think there are a lot of people who appreciate Shane Long, and there are a lot of people who are frustrated with Shane Long, and I think those two circles on a Venn diagram overlap. I think some of us both appreciate and are frustrated by him because he really should have. I'll be honest, I missed Danny Ings' first goal because I was busy slamming my water bottle on the ground because Shane Long missed the open chance. And so it's just like that little stuff. Like, I shouldn't react that way. I should give Shane Long like the benefit of him making the run, knowing what kind of Redmond was going to do, putting in the work to get there. And you know, if he could finish all of those chances and do all of those other things at his age, he would be worth, you know, a ton of money and probably wouldn't be here. So like, I should just appreciate what he does do well, utilize him for that, and watch Ralph do the same. And then, you know, be happy that Danny Ings is there to kind of sweep it up.
Yeah, Danny Ings has been incredible, hasn't he? Long's never going to score any goals. We know that. Like, his work off the ball and pushing forward has been really good throughout his career at Saints. So yeah, and his deal runs out next year, but I think his club should be offering him a new deal despite his goal record. I think he's been brilliant in the last few weeks.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch kind of how that goes out, because this is now, I think, the first. Well, I guess it'll be one of the first things not the board, but the new kind of executive branch has to deal with is you know, some of these players who didn't get big, long, new contracts under Les Reed are now going to be coming towards the end of theirs, and how we approach that and how we deal with that, how much money we tie up in their salaries and stuff will all be interesting, because if we're going to go out and try to get new guys, you know, you wonder what that wage structure will look like and if things will change or not. And so yeah, we'll see. And I wonder if we sign him, you know, if it's a contract, if it's just we just sign him a 1-year extension, just say go run, and then when the legs start to go, then we say thanks, but no thanks. But we'll see. I talked to an Aston Villa podcast last week before the game, and the guy was from Ireland and absolutely want to talk about Obafemi and Long all day long, and so that was it was fun. I just want to kind of go to the start of the match, and I think right from the get go, we, you know, 2 quick free kicks. We looked like we were the better team and started fairly lively. And the one thing I would point out is that the free kick, I think from the handball, the second attempt, it was pretty clear Ward-Prowse was going to go for goal, and it was pretty clear that Heaton knew what he was going to do. He 100% cheated, kind of over towards the near post, I guess, and was behind several of Ward-Prowse's free kicks comfortably. Granted, they weren't in the top corner, but when you were there, I don't know if that was going away from you or coming towards you that in the first half, but was there a feeling, because there was definitely a feeling watching it that Ward-Prowse had the chance to just kind of put us ahead right away, and that would have been a great start, but it didn't quite happen. But for you guys, was the anticipation kind of there right from the start once we had those 2 quick free kicks? Yeah,
putting a good start off was key, really, especially against Villa, try and get their fans on their backs. I was at the end of where Ward-Prowse was taking his where Ward-Prowse was taking his free kicks in the first half. Heaton had it covered, and he probably knows him a little bit from England and stuff like that. I think it was good to get a good quick start, and obviously, probably going to mention it, but McGinn going off injured quite early helped us out as well. Yeah,
and I think that's the next kind of thing is it didn't look like anything initially, but I think that's the problem, is when something happens on the sideline or when something happens where there didn't seem to be any contact, there was nothing. I think his cleat just kind of got stuck in the turf, and then they showed it on one of the replays, and I watched it back, and it looked quite bad at that point. But I don't know if they were trying to get him to come back on or what, but it looked pretty clear pretty quickly that it wasn't going to be able to happen, and that he was going to be in some serious trouble. I didn't realize until I think this morning actually that he had had broken his ankle and he'll be out for quite some time. So that's a big loss for Villa. And he looked like, he was one of those guys that could have done something for them alongside of Grealish. But, I think it was Marvelous Nakamba who came on after that. And he had a marvelous, through ball for Ings, or a layoff to Ings, I should say, later on. But we'll get to that. So I definitely think that helped. But Villa did come back in with a couple of chances on their end. There was I think they had a ball that came straight across the 6-yard box that nobody got a touch on at all. And then McCarthy had to come up with a pretty big save there to keep it at 0-0.
Yeah, that was a great save. It wasn't tested massively during the game, but it was made a couple of big saves. They couldn't do much about the Grealish chance, and McGinn coming off, like I said, it helped us out massively because I think we would have had a lot more problems had he stayed on the pitch. Yeah,
absolutely. I want to say McCarthy played pretty well. I think he came up with the saves and the times that he needed. That Grealish chance, it was beautifully taken. I don't get a chance. I didn't get a chance to watch him very much last year. The championship coverage in this country is not as great as it could be. I think most American football fans will know who he is because of the types of goals he scores, and I think we all watched him last year in the as they were coming up and had to win. I think they had to win the playoffs, right? They came up through the playoffs.
Yeah.
I remember he's playing in the old boots and all that other stuff. And the only thing I don't like about Grealish is his socks. I can't deal with that.
Tell me about it.
Arsenal used to have the thing where you have to, the captain chose the sleeve length on the shirts. Villa should do something about his socks, but he is the captain. I don't want the whole team wearing that either. That'd be terrible. But anyway, that's different. I think, when I was looking, one of the things I was really impressed with early on is the number of crosses we were able to put in the quality of them. They were going into the box, and we had people in the box attacking the ball, and they were not kind of just lazy floated balls. They had some real whip on them. They were causing people trouble. They couldn't get it clear. I was really, really impressed with that, and the energy we were using, and the energy the team had, I guess, to go out there and win the ball back when it was kind of, there to be won, to get it out wide, to get it into the box, and just keep that pressure on and not let Villa really kind of breathe. And I thought that was fantastic from us. Yeah,
it was brilliant. Obviously a stark contrast from the week before against West Ham, where we just didn't turn up really, and started to look how we sort of started when sort of Ralph came to the club, the games against Huddersfield and Arsenal when he first came. And I was really impressed with the whole performance, and we just topped off with Ings getting a hat-trick, but it wasn't to be, and it's a big win and something to take forward.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's go back and talk about Ings' first goal again a little bit. It came, I think, Villa tried to clear. Bednarik was able to head down to Ward-Prowse, played it into Redmond, and then that little dink, I mean, the commentator here was saying how brilliant that ball from Redmond was. I don't know if it was brilliant or if it was just we'll just try this and see how it goes, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say it was great. Anyway, ball played over the top, just a little dinked pass, Long able to run onto it. And like I said earlier, I would have wanted him to finish that chance himself, just because I think it would have given all of us a little bit more confidence in the fact that we have maybe another goal threat up there. But Ings is in the right place at the right time to put away the rebound. And then from that point, like, I thought we still looked great. Like we didn't then turn around and sit back. We didn't wait for Villa to come and bring it to us. We just kept on with the game plan, which I think is something that we haven't seen in recent weeks.
Yeah, we didn't like rest on our laurels like the Arsenal and Newcastle game. We sort of pushed for a second and third because we knew that Villa without Mings and people like that, they were going to struggle to deal with our threat. And obviously it would have been nice to see Long score, but the fact his shot led to Ings scoring, maybe gave him an assist or something, but Ings just looks incredible, and if Long became fit, we'll be absolutely fine this season.
And then I think, quite soon after that, we wind up, more crosses, and then a corner, and Stevens winds up getting up there, winning the header and putting us up 2-0. And at that point, I think it was Villa just looked like they were falling apart. They didn't have an answer. They were, and the I guess the cynics out there will say that Villa, it's Aston Villa, they were terrible, and they were not good for 75 minutes of that match. They were awful, but we took advantage of that. We made them pay for the mistakes. And I think I've said it over the past couple of weeks, and I think a lot of people have, is we weren't doing that earlier in the season. We were really, we were punished for every mistake we made. We weren't making other people pay for theirs. And now I think if you look at the games that we've won, it's when teams have left the door open, when teams have made a mistake, we have capitalized on it. And I think that's what you have to do if you're going to be in this kind of relegation battle that we're in still, because we're not far off of being stuck, down in the relegation zone again. It could all be different in just, a week's time after we play 2 matches and whatever else happens. But the idea that we're going to do this to other teams, that we're going to make them pay for the mistakes they're making, I think that's probably as much as we can ask for, and we have to be proud of the team for going out and doing that.
Yeah, it was nice to finally see it. Like a lot of the games, like Arsenal game, Newcastle game, we had plenty of chances to see them sort of teams off, and it was very frustrating to drop points. But yes, Saturday, was a very clinical game from us, and it was nice to finally see someone else other than Ings scoring. Stevens with a great header. Yeah, it's a bit worrying really for me. Like I looked earlier, a non-English player hasn't scored for us since the Sheffield United game with Gineppo. So we're very reliant on our English core players, which I don't know whether that's a good or bad thing really.
It's just Ings, Ward, Prowse, Bertrand, and then Stevens now, right? Like that's those are the goal scorers, and it's
a little bit worrying really.
Yeah, really, if something were to happen to Ings, like where would we be? If you look at the goals he scored, where he is on the goal scoring charts. I mean, this the tweet came out, and I think it was from the BBC that said, a quick word on Danny Ings. The forward is only the 3rd Saints player to score 10 goals or more in a Premier League season before Christmas, emulating Matt Letitia in 1994-95 and James Beattie in 2002-2003. So, I mean, I was in high school the last time the Saints player did it. Like, I didn't even know what football was.
Yeah, I'd have been like 8 or 9 probably.
Yeah, so this is... at that point, I still thought I was going to play college baseball at a big university. Turns out you have to be really good to do that. He's in such good form. But, I mean, if you look at that and you take that into consideration, I don't even think we had a double-digit goal scorer in recent seasons. I can't...
the last time was probably like when Pele and Mane were here.
Yeah. I was looking back. I remember a couple of seasons ago or a couple of summers ago looking back at some of that stuff and looking when Tadic was going to leave and looking at kind of where his stats were. Long had scored 10 goals at one point. Pella had scored double digits. I think Tadic got up to double digits, Mane. But other than that, I don't think we've had it one in the past couple of seasons. I think that's been a real issue when we have, everybody or, our leading goal scorer is 8 or 9 goals. I think Ings last season, and he was injured for most of it, So this is, the fact that we have a double-digit goal scorer before Christmas, I think says a lot about him. But also, as you said, a real issue if something were to happen to him that would take him out of the lineup for an extended period of time, because I'm not sure where else the goals would come from. We'd
be in serious trouble if we lost him for any length of time, even if it's just a month, because you'd have sort of Obafemi or Adams coming in, and both of them they've scored like a couple of goals between them this season. So also why we don't get many goals from midfield. Højbjerg rarely scores. Ward-Prowse gets the odd goal from penalties, free kicks, etc. Defence very rarely contribute to goals. So it's a bit. I'd be very worried if we were to lose him, and I'd fear for our sort of status in the division if we were to lose him. Probably would have to dip into the transfer market if it was in January. So hopefully we don't need to do that. But it would be a big loss if we did lose him. But hopefully we don't.
Yeah, and just to sidestep, I guess, or step away from the match a little bit for a second. Ralph mentioned earlier last week in the press conference that both fullback areas will be looked at in the transfer market, and just the discussion that we're having about Danny Ings and the fact that for some reason our attack feels like it's working, and I think it's mostly from the defensive off the ball work that it's working. But that doesn't feel like the area that will make signings. I feel like if we were going to make signings, that the fullback positions would be good. I think we'd all like another center back, but it would have to be the right center back, and I'm not sure that's going to happen. But I mean, given that the discussion we just had about Danny Ings and the fact that without him we'd be in serious trouble, do you think that that's the area we should be focusing on, or do you think fullback is the right thing, or is the team just kind of in need of upgrades kind of everywhere, and it'll just have to be a little bit at a time?
I think, a little bit over time, but I think right back, or left back, is fullback is going to be the area which I think we will see a signing in January, whether it's on loan or permanent. Because basically, with Valerie out, we're basically coping with 2 fullbacks. Like if something happened to Bertrand or Cedric, the moment, we'd be really struggling having to play players that position, maybe Højbjerg slotting in at left back, and I really don't feel comfortable with that. I don't see the need for us to strengthen attacking areas. We haven't scored loads of goals, but we do score quite regularly, and maybe longer term we do need to upgrade players, maybe in the summer, depends on if we stay up or not. Because a lot of players will probably go if we do go down. So I think the right back area is somewhere we will see strengthened in January without doubt.
Yeah, and it'll be. I mean, there are long-term issues that the club have to deal with, I'm sure, and it's no secret, I don't think, to anybody who watches the team week in, week out that things need to change. But for now, we can kind of enjoy what we're seeing on the pitch, and at least enjoy spending Christmas not in the relegation zone, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I just have in my notes a bunch of times, Long and Ings are working well together. There's link up play. There are layoffs. There are a bunch of things that are working, even if Long isn't putting the ball in the back of the net. I think, I don't know. We talked about McCarthy coming up with the saves he needed to have. I think it just going into halftime, we had outshot them. We had more shots on target, less possession, but not. It's not an issue for the team. The team seems to do better when we don't have the ball, when we can. And I think, you could really see us, if we didn't have a pass, if nothing was on, if we couldn't play through them kind of quickly, the ball goes back to the goalkeeper, we lump it long and then try to just win it back higher up the pitch, which I think was great, especially with Long up there actually contesting the headers. If he doesn't get the flick on, or he doesn't get the knockdown, then we have another chance to kind of press and force them. And I just don't think Villa were good enough to cope with it. They looked lost and they couldn't really get a rhythm going. And it didn't seem like later into the second half until they really started to kind of try to assert themselves a little bit, where there were a couple of challenges going in and things like that. And I don't know. I think we just really approached the game very well. I did think we got helped out. There were we took some smart fouls. We felt contact at certain points and earned ourselves free kicks and things like that, where we could be dangerous, because I think set pieces once again were somewhere where Villa were vulnerable, and we obviously took advantage of that on Steven's goal. But I don't know. I thought the whole game plan from Ralph from the kickoff all the way through was pretty spot on. I thought we did everything we needed to be able to do in order to get the win. Yeah,
I totally agree, Matt. I think he's coming for a little bit of criticism with some of the team selections early in the season, but like again at the weekend, back four again, two strikers up top, and not when teams play two up top, especially with Ings and Long. Let's say Long winning the flick-ons, Ings running behind, getting the ball. That was really positive, and I think most teams will struggle playing against two strikers, particularly the strikers we've got. They're both very different. One's more of a goal scorer, like sort of in the sort of 6-yard box. One's more of a sort of pacey guy with a lot of trickery. I think it's positive moving forward, and maybe moving forward have to be a slightly different approach with more games coming up in a quick period of time.
Just kind of on that note, I think all of Danny Ings' goals have come from inside the box, inside the penalty area, right? Like he's not out there taking these long range efforts. He's trying to find shots and things that are I guess of high value, or from an XG standpoint, he's in there trying to do that. Just looking at some of the stats, Aston Villa did pretty well on some of the stats. Like they wound up with more shots than we did, which we'll come to later on, because they did have that flurry in the second half. I think they wind up with more dribbles. They wind up with more aerial duels won, things like that. But overall, I never really felt until the last 15 minutes of the match really that they had a chance. Like there was a little bit of kind of worry once they scored that goal, because that goal I think was coming for them, and then they just kind of kept going, and then it was like, oh no. But I think we showed some resiliency and should have probably scored a couple more going forward, where we just made the wrong decision and couldn't keep it down. So anyway, moving on, I think that does the first half, but moving on to the second half, it's kind of the same thing. There was no real big change from Villa coming out, no formation change or anything like that. They kind of kept doing the same thing, and so did we. And then Ings is kind of, I don't want to say gifted that chance, because that's a very good finish from him on that.
Yeah, it was.
On the second goal, and that one would have been right in front of you this time.
Yeah, it was. As it was coming out, I thought, oh, come on, pick out a Saints fan. It ended up being the Villa player passing to Ings, and it was a brilliant turn and finish. And that was a key goal, because if Villa had got a goal early in the second half, I think Saints would have been a bit rattled and a bit sort of nervous. So it was key to get the third goal and sort of almost put the game beyond them, and their fans started to get a bit anxious and knew they were going to lose that game. So it was good for us, and I can't tell you about the scenes in the away, and for all 3 goals were absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, what was I guess just coming out of halftime, going in the second half, up 2-0. Like, what was the mood around the away end? Was the feeling like the team was going to do this? Like, it felt like a good away day, or was there still that kind of hesitation because we weren't quite sure if we were going to hold on or not?
I think at half time, everyone was obviously delighted with the way we were playing, but because of what's happened in the past, they were always nervous that they could come back into it despite how bad they've been, because we knew they weren't going to be as bad as they've been in the first half again. But most people I spoke to were were confident we could get the job done, but always had in the back of their mind that we do like letting leads slip, and it was key that we did get the early goal in the second half, which was key, and good that Villa didn't score until quite late on, so it was always going to be quite a safe job in the end.
I mean, just having a look at some of the shots that we were able to create, we forced Villa to take a lot of shots from outside the area. But if you look at our shot map, we had some free kicks that were taken from outside the area. We had the couple of balls that came out to Højbjerg on the edge of the area. But if you kind of zoom in to the 6-yard area and in and around that area, we had several chances in there to make the goal difference even wider. And we're going to have to do some work in that if we're going to, attempt to claw back some of the goals from the 9-0 that we gave up. But I think we just have to be really, really happy with the job that everybody did. And that finish for Ings on the second goal, not easy to have to kind of turn and swivel and just kind of smash it. I'm not even sure I don't think he was placing anything. I think it was just hit and hope, but it works out. And I think once we were up 3-0, there surely had to be that had to put some people at ease, because I kind of like relaxed once the third goal went in, and didn't kind of get tense again until Grealish scored. But yeah, I mean, I guess let's just kind of go on to the later in the second half. And I mean, was there anything in it that they started to come back into it, or was it just, kind of how it happens when it turns out to be like, time is running out. Either we just pack it in and let our fans boo us off the pitch for the second time in a day, or, we have to kind of do something. And it seemed like, I think we were talking earlier, everything kind of went through Grealish. They were going down the left. They moved him over to their left side, so our right side, and he was just running at Cedric and Stevens as much as he could. And Stevens did very, very well. There are a couple of good tackles he put in on Grealish, I think, when they tried to play him through once towards the end, where the time is winding down and you're coming in sliding hard. And I think that's exactly what we want. Like, we didn't let up with the intensity, but I guess the fact that they're just so focused on Grealish and trying to get him the ball, and that he is really their only creative force. And I guess we do have to give him a little bit of credit, because he is good enough to actually cause us trouble during that time. And even if he's getting the ball, it's still, you have to put somebody on him and hope that you can at least just stand him up and hold him off hold him at arm's length for as long as you can. Yeah,
Grealish was brilliant. I'm not surprised, to be honest. Like I said earlier, he's in the Championship. I watched him quite a lot, and he was their best player by country mile. And I worry for them as well. If he was to get injured, then they'd be very struggling a lot. Sorry. Yeah, Stevens, again, immense. Bednarak, pretty good as well. And it was inevitable they were going to score, because we don't keep clean sheets, as we know. And just pleasing to get another win over the team again, like sort of near us on the table. Sort of like, we've beaten the bottom 3 now in the space of sort of 3 or 4 weeks. So it's sort of a very morale boosting moves, and hopefully we take it forward into sort of the next few fixtures.
Just looking at the substitutions that Ralph made, nothing until the 76th minute. Obviously, we were up at that point. And Romeo comes on for Armstrong, who I thought we should give him a mention. I thought he had a very good game. A lot of running, a lot of I don't know. I wouldn't say he was a standout player, but I think a lot of the work he did. He's not as flashy as Musa Janepo, but he was getting himself into good positions. He was making himself available for passes, and really, I thought, played an integral part, almost like a Shane Long-ish role, even though he's a bit more creative and a bit more composed, I think. But I thought he played well. But Romeo came in and tried to shore things up, and kind of uncharacteristically, when he came in, things kind of got more intense. And And by that I mean that Villa actually kind of got more into the game, but I think that just had to do with kind of where they were in the game and how things were going, rather than Romeu playing poorly or anything like that.
Yeah, but obviously it was around the sort of time we scored when he came on, so it was always going to be a tough game. And he's not played for a while, so he's come on for little bits and pieces. But like you say, we've got to give Armstrong a huge amount of credit. Coming back from an injury, a couple of weeks layoff, he was brilliant on the weekend. And even if Djenepo's fit, I'd rather see him start in the next few games. I think he offers more to us. Djenepo's probably a better option off the bench, much like Buffal. So I think Armstrong could be a great player for us moving forward as long as we can keep him fit.
Yeah, and I think I want to say this 4-2-2-2 formation kind of fits him fairly well. I think he would be the guy that would normally play in like the best fit in like a number 10 type role. And granted, we don't have one of those in this formation, but not forcing him to play all the way out wide like a winger, but allowing him to drift inside a little bit and press and actually play balls through for people. I think that helps out a lot. The other substitutions, Obafemi comes on for Long, Adams comes on for Ings. We did have a chance for, I think Ings took a shot to try to give himself the hat trick after Højbjerg. We had a 3-on-2 break that I thought we should have scored from, but and then later, I think that's the same one where Højbjerg gets the deflection and he winds up shooting it over. But once again, lots and lots of chances. You would have liked us to put it up, to go up maybe 4-1 or 4-0, but it doesn't happen. But anyway, we move on. Is there anything we should worry about with, I think, was it Kaja who came on for them and seemed to give us a little bit of trouble holding the ball up. And that's kind of I have never seen him play before up until yesterday. And he looked to be giving Ben Rack a little bit of a rough time, and Bertrand as well. And I mean, is that something we should worry about? Or is it just, like I said, it's the fact that it was that point in the game where they were going to be trying to get back into it, and they had brought a sub on, and that was just kind of how it was going to go? Or do we really worry about that moving forward, or we just kind of take it for what it is and move on and focus on Chelsea? Yeah,
I think it's a little bit situational, because obviously they were going to have a spell in the game where they were going to attack and obviously bring this extra sort of attacker and was going to help them. Kodjo, I've known him I've watched him quite a lot actually, and watched him against Liverpool's sort of kids in the Carabao Cup during the week. Where I think he scored a hat trick. I've watched him in the Championship as well, and he's always been a player I'm impressed with. So I'm just a bit surprised that he's sort of not really had much of a sort of impact or been played much for Villa this season in the league. So I think it's obviously we're going to play against Tammy Abraham against Chelsea, which obviously be a much harder test for our defence, and that would sort of tell us where we're sort of at with our defence at the moment. Because obviously they tore us apart at the start of the season, scoring 4 against us. So I think it is something to worry about, given that we've got Tammy Abraham to defend against on Thursday. Yeah,
that Chelsea match is worrying. But I mean, Villa were coming off of this. You mentioned the Carabao Cup defeat or win over Liverpool. Granted, it was the Liverpool kids, and for I don't know. I watched a little bit of that game, and it didn't seem like that match the scoreline should have wound up that way. It seemed like Liverpool had a lot of the ball, and they looked really like all the players looked technically very, very good. They just were not up for the challenge of defending against somebody that was a full grown person who was strong and fast and could do all that stuff. And I thought they played well for about 15-20 minutes, and then I think they just kind of got overrun. But I thought Villa would have brought a lot more of that confidence into the game, and they looked flat. And I think that's what Saints fans have been upset about for so long is our team can't carry things forward. We don't seem to take momentum from match to match. And I think Villa showed, that's why they're in this situation as well.
Yeah, definitely. Although there was quite a lot of changes for that cup game. I think it was 10 changes, but even though it wasn't the same sort of players, they should have taken some sort of momentum. And from the start, they were just so flat. And like you say, it's a similar situation to Saints. We've only won back-to-back games twice this season, and that was against, obviously, Watford and Norwich. So hopefully we can finally put 2 strong performances in 2 games in a row, because if we don't, then Chelsea would absolutely tear us apart, and it could get a bit messy like the Leicester. Not as bad as the Leicester game, but it could come that bad, and it's something that we could worry about for Boxing Day.
All right. I mean, is there anything else on the match you want to talk about, or should we move on to answer some questions?
Yeah, there is. Okay. There is one thing. Clean sheets. I'm really starting to get quite worried about it. We haven't had one, I think, in the league since Sheffield United in September. We nearly had one on Saturday. Didn't quite get it. Since the Leicester game, we haven't conceded many goals, but we conceded goals in every game, sort of thing, 1 or 2. And it's just it's just annoying. Like it's one thing I want. You built on the back. Look at teams like Leicester and Sheffield United, Wolves, who are doing really well this year. They've built on success at the back, and if we don't start getting clean sheets, then we're going to need to score 2-3 goals to win a game, which is obviously isn't ideal.
Yeah, and especially given that we have one guy scoring goals, and it's. I mean, yeah, you have to go all the way back to Sheffield United in order for us to have one in the league. We had Portsmouth in the cup before that, or just after that. But I mean, that's been some time now, and yeah, it is worrying, right? Like you really wish that McCarthy could have gotten there to kind of keep that Grealish shot out, but you can't really blame him.
No, not so.
And I think, I don't know, it's hard to really point to a mistake that the defense made that allowed that chance. But there were other chances for, I think, for Villa to score. And I don't think they had any kind of, great chances. I think the best chance they had was probably early on in the match where that ball came across the 6-yard box.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think El Ghazi got on the end of one, and McCarthy came up with the save, and I think it was still 0-0 at that point. But I think that's their best chance. But I mean, it's not like they didn't have any. But I'm not sure what to do about that, because the team looks so much better right now with 4 at the back, because we're playing so much we're keeping the ball away from our goal for longer periods of time. We're forcing other teams to kind of into making mistakes, which I think is where the team is best. And I think that's what Rob's been trying to instill in the guys for so long. But still, and like we said, Stevens was great yesterday. Like not yesterday, but Saturday. He, there were only a couple of times late on in the match. Maybe we should talk about it a little bit. Like he made several mistakes kind of right in a row as Villa were starting to get back into it. I mean, I don't know if you were able to pick some of those out, but like, I think he had a ball that he tried to just kind of pick out of the air, and he missed it, and Bednarak had to come in and sweep up behind him. I think he got turned a couple of times late on, but he didn't like hang his head and kind of sulk and allow that to kind of rattle him, I guess. He just kept going, and he made a couple more, and then he kind of figured it out and got better. And I don't know. I guess that's just what happens. I guess that's probably the level of defender that we have, and I think that's maybe the best we can hope for him.
Yeah, exactly. Like everyone makes mistakes. Like even like Van Dijk's made mistakes this season. So it's not only perfect, but since he's come back in the team, I've been impressed with both his attitude and his sort of performances on the pitch. He's been much better from a player he was last season. Sort of shows how hard he worked when he was out of the team. And I think we've sort of struck on a bit of a formula. Many fans would have wanted maybe Danzo to come back in, but he's sort of nowhere to be seen. And Stevens offers a good threat going forward as well. So I think he's definitely got to be in the team for the sort of long-term future, but at least this season anyway.
Do you think, I mean, given the center backs we have, do you think that Stevens and Bednarak are going to be the guys that should be back there for the rest of the season?
I think so, yeah. I've not been impressed with Vestergaard at all. I think he probably should be sold or put out on loan, to be honest. I don't think he's that good. Yoshida's always going to work hard and give his all for the team, but again, he's not getting much younger, and with his game coming thick and fast, I think he's going to be a hard one to play. Obviously, Hoyt's on loan, and then the other one is Danzo, who's he's not really played at centre back, has he? So we haven't really seen what he can offer. He's only played at left back, times in midfield, even right back. So I think we're stuck on a partnership. Bednarak's not been quite as good as he has been in recent seasons, but I still think the partnership of Bednarak and Stevens is good. And you don't want to keep chopping and changing it, because it unsettles the goalkeeper as well. I think the two we've got at the moment are definitely the two which should stay there, barring injuries and suspensions.
Yeah, I think Bednarak has not been as good since he switched sides, since he went from playing on the right side of the 3 and then also on the right side of a 2 for so long, next to Vestergaard and Yoshida. The fact that he's moved over to the left-hand side, I think, has made it maybe accounts for a little bit of him not quite being as good. But you look at I think what the manager said about him is Bednarak's the firefighter. He's the guy who's going to sweep up behind and put in like the last ditch tackle and everything else. And he's good at that. And Stevens has been better on the ball and bringing the ball out of defense a little bit and doing those things. So I think overall it's probably the best partnership we have. Is it great? No, I don't think anybody's taking either one of those guys as their defenders of the decade or defenders of the season. Yeah. But I think that it is what we have to work with, and the fact that the manager is going to make the best of that, I think, is exactly what we want him to do and what we expect him to do. And I think we got to be a little bit happy with it. But the clean sheet thing is a definite issue because we got to keep it at some point. And you would have said, like, the teams we've just played, those would have been the teams you wanted to keep a clean sheet against because it just brings some confidence. And now moving forward, all of a sudden things get a little bit tougher. We have a question on that, so we won't spoil it yet. But you want to go on and answer some questions now?
Yeah, man, go for it. Yeah.
All right. So you can send in questions on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or also the patrons of the show can do it on Discord or on the Patreon channel over at patreon.com/SFC delivery. Luke Millard, who was in the away end over the weekend, says, given the tough run of fixtures following Villa, how many points do you think we will get over the course of the next 5 league games? So let me just read those off for you. So we have Chelsea away, Palace and Tottenham at home, Leicester away, and then Wolves at home. What do you see us kind of getting from those matches? I guess given the fact that we're still in this relegation battle and things are going to be moving, especially with the quick turnaround and all of these matches here.
I see us getting 7 points, and I think we get a point at Chelsea. I think we beat Palace at home. I haven't been very impressed with them in terms of the scoring goals. They've not scored many goals, so that could be where our first clean sheet in a while comes from. I think we beat Palace. I think we'll lose to Tottenham, despite how bad they were yesterday. I think they won't have Son against us either, but I think it will be a tough game and one which we'll lose. We don't have a great record against them either at St Mary's. Then the games after that, Leicester, it should be trying to keep it down for as low as possible. I don't think we're going to be much of a threat in that game. And then I can see us beating Wolves at home. I think we beat them last year at home, and I think we can do it again. I've been impressed with them, but when we played them early in the season, we gave them a really good game, and we're a much better team now than when we played them. So I think 7 points out of 15 is realistic, and if we do get that, then I think given our rivals' sort of fixtures, we'll be right in the mix, but we'll be in a good position.
For me, I'm not sure we're going to get anything from Chelsea. I think a win over Crystal Palace would be great. If we took a point from either Spurs or Chelsea, I would be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time seeing us getting anything from Leicester. Other than no, I'm not. It's hard to see us getting anything from there. And then I think Wolves maybe a point. So I don't know. I think I'm looking probably more at maybe 5 points from that, which is not a great return. But I guess it's not that much different than what we've been doing over the course of the season. So
it's a very tough run of games. Yeah, very tough.
And I mean, we went through that earlier in the season, and it was rough on the fan base, right? It took a long, and I guess the difference there is you have 4 games and then an international break, and then 4 games and then an international break, and so you felt like for long periods of time we were just sitting in and around the relegation zone, and we were having weeks where there was nothing we could do about it because we weren't playing games to get out of it. And at least this time, it's over pretty quickly. Like if you're going to rip the Band-Aid off, just do it, right? Like Chelsea, Palace, Spurs, all in the space of 5 days or 6 days. Then followed by, so you go midweek, weekend, midweek, weekend with Huddersfield, then the following Saturday against Leicester. Then that's done. And then you have a week off to prepare for Wolves, which I think is probably the first time you look at a match from that and say, this is a legitimate chance to get a win and really some time to prepare on the pitch, because I don't think you're going to have a lot of time in between these matches to kind of do things tactically. I think it's going to be rest and recover, get back out there and play again. And of course, the tactics will change a little bit, but I think by the time we get to the Wolves match, that'll be the first time that we actually kind of really sit and they'll have a full week of preparation. And so I think you look at that, you say that's probably the best chance we have, because maybe Wolves will be used to this schedule because they've been playing in the Europa League and all that stuff. But I think hopefully just the nonstop relentlessness of their squad having to play this type of schedule, maybe that'll start to wear on them now, because I think that's generally when we see it start to affect teams who have to play in the Europa League. So that's my hope anyway. I think that's me being as optimistic as I can be.
No, yeah, I agree. I think with Wolves as well, we had a similar situation, obviously being in the Europa League a few years ago. We didn't get past the group stage, unfortunately, but Wolves have. And obviously the Europa League doesn't start again until February, I think, so that won't affect them too much. But they'll be used to the games coming thick and fast. And like you say, there won't be much training going on. It will literally be, especially after Chelsea and Palace, there's literally 1 day between the 2 games. So it will literally be a recovery game, and I expect we'll see a lot of changes for that sort of game as well. So I think it's going to be a tough run of games, but it's promising because it means at the end of the season we're going to be playing a lot of the teams around us in the table. So like the teams we just played, basically.
Yeah. It goes nicely into the next question from Kevin McGee here. He says, do you think Adams will get more minutes over the busy period? He says, yeah, obviously don't want Ings to be dropped, but it would be nice if Adams can get more than 5 minutes at the end of a match. So, I mean, just that in mind, in Danny Ings' injury record in mind, the quick turnaround over the next couple of matches, like I even saw some people discussing it on Twitter, like, we were up, I think 3-0 at one point, and it's like, okay, get Ings off, let him rest, keep him fresh for Chelsea. But I mean, how much rotation do you think will happen, and do you think we'll see Adams start a match or two over this period?
I think there won't be too much rotation, just because Ralph doesn't seem to. He sort of seems to have like a 12 or 13, 14 players that he trusts. He doesn't really play the rest. So I don't think we'll see much rotation. I think the defence will stay as the same, because a lot of them players, you want to keep continuity and stuff. Keeper won't change. I think maybe you might see Romeo come in for a few games, for maybe Højbjerg, or as like Chelsea away, it's his old club as well, extra body in the field maybe. In terms of Adams, I don't think he'll start any games, but I think he'll get a lot more minutes in like coming on for Ings. Maybe in the Chelsea game he'll come on for like half an hour instead of 5 minutes or something like that. But I think his chance will come from the start against Huddersfield, like a lot of the players who have been sort of fringe players, and it's a sad situation, because we did sort of track him for quite a while, but I think he won't be starting many games. But until Ings is out of form, I think Adams will get a few more minutes, but not from the start.
Yeah, and it probably has to do a little bit too with how those games are going. If it's 1-1 against Chelsea, and we have a foot in the game, and we're looking likely to maybe break through, I doubt we make a change. If we're down 2-0 at halftime, and we're kind of just there, then maybe you just take Ings off and say, we'll save you for Saturday. And I don't know, if I was going to make changes to the team, I know I don't want to say like maybe this is bad, but like maybe Thursday's the day to do it. That Chelsea look good. They don't, that's going to be a tough match for us. Crystal Palace probably the one that we can take points from, and a performance you need to have at home. So maybe if you're going to make changes up top or anywhere, Chelsea is the match to do that. And then you let kind of the I guess the true first team, the team we saw against Villa, play on against Crystal Palace after giving them a week off. But I don't know if that's realistic. I'm not sure we're going to see a full turnover. And I would say that early on in the season, I was pretty impressed with our midfield. But really now, if you're going to play this system, you only really have three guys who can play in the middle, unless you're going to slot somebody like you're going to bring up somebody from the youth team, or you're going to put Armstrong a little bit deeper, which is not his role. It's not what he's good at. And I can't see him doing that job that Højbjerg or Ward-Prowse are doing right now. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But I think
as well. Like, he's in such good form. Like I wouldn't rest him. Like, he's on absolute fire. Like, you've got to keep him going for as long as you can. If he does feel a bit tired after 50, 60 minutes, and take him off and bring Adams on. But I think the way he's playing, you've got to keep him on for as long as you can.
I would say that in this is like maybe more baseball centric than I've been in a long time, but like Major League Baseball, you have situations where they play 5 or 6 games a week usually, but pitchers only play once a week. They pitch every 5 days usually, and you get into situations in the playoffs where pitchers will go in, and then generally you have a 1 or 2 starting pitchers who are your kind of like ace. They're the guy, and right now Danny Ings is the guy. And sometimes the ace goes to the manager and says like, hey, look, give me the ball. Like I am doing this. I know I haven't had my full rest. I know I'm not kind of 100%, but I want the ball. I want to do this. And maybe this is one of the situations where Danny Ings goes to the manager and says, look, I can do this. Like, I need to do this. And it's up to the manager to make that decision. Like, I guess hopefully they'll be monitoring levels and things. I imagine they're looking at his body and his recovery and saying like, because like we said earlier, the risk of injury is so high that and I think the fallout from him getting injured would be so detrimental to the team. Like, that's the only thing I'm worried about,
as well. Like, obviously we had 3 games in a week a little while ago. Obviously Watford, Norwich, Newcastle, he played all 3 and came through it unscathed. So I think, and obviously the games are a bit closer, sort of entwined at this time with literally 1 game day between the 2. I think he can play 3 in a week, and if he's in form, then it's a risk you've got to take, I think.
Okay. All right. Justin Woodward, last question from the patrons who get priority for having their questions answered on the show, says, are we likely to see any of the youngsters coming through in the second half of the season? And also, is anybody likely to be sold in January? So I guess let's start with the second half. January is obviously a weird kind of season. We tend to overspend if you do buy players, but do you see anybody being sold in January, or maybe more likely a loan deal or two?
Yeah, more likely loan. Maybe one of the centre-backs got on loan, Vestergaard maybe. But maybe some of the youngsters. I know Will Smallbone, quite a promising midfielder's come back from injury, so you might see someone like him go on loan, or Callum Slattery or Kane Ramsey, who played a bit in the first team last year. But I don't think we'll see massive sort of changes in January in terms of outgoings. Like I said earlier, maybe a few defenders coming in terms of our first team.
Yeah. What about youngsters coming into the team in the second half of the season? Do you think, I mean, I haven't watched a ton of the under-23s or anything like that, but do you think we'd see anybody come up, or do you think right now the team seems to be settled? And Ralph's big thing is, he likes the small squad. He likes to kind of play the similar team as we've seen over the past couple of weeks. But do you foresee anything? I mean, I guess for me, it would be that unless there's an injury, then there's going to be really no need to bring up anybody and have anybody fill in. So I don't foresee that happening. But what about, is that on your radar at all?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see anyone come in really, unless, let's say, there's injuries or suspensions. I've watched quite a bit of the M23s this year. Callum Slattery's caught the eye quite a bit. Centre midfielder. So he'd be the sort of the first one to come in, I think, if there was any issues in midfield. Again, Kane Ramsey has looked good when he's played, and there's a striker called Dan Nalundu who's looked really good as well. But again, we've got 4 strikers ahead of him, so it's hard to see many of them breaking through with so much sort of competition ahead of them. So I don't think we're going to see many of them come through. Maybe a chance in the FA Cup against Huddersfield for a few of them on the bench or even starting. Maybe if we have a good run in the FA Cup, you might see quite a few of them play, but in terms of league, no, I don't think any of them will play much.
All right, we got a couple other questions here from Instagram and Twitter. Let's see. So we have obviously we have Palace coming up at home, and we've struggled to do that. So we have a couple of questions here. One regarding St. Mary's, and one regarding why we can't seem to play this well at home. So Spuddy171 says, why can't we do this at home? Obviously, the team has been playing at St. Mary's since 2001. To answer one of the other questions that's here. So, I mean, the form at home has been pretty awful. The performances we put in have not been great, and it's been a weird kind of thing. And yet the away matches, the performances have been better, and you are obviously in the away end, and you see what that's like in terms of the support. And I don't want to criticize people, but I think that the home there's something happening at home, and it's the easy thing to point to is that the support's not all there, and it's people who are kind of just really quick to get on the team, but at the same time they went almost a calendar year without seeing a win at home. Like they have the right to be upset, especially given I think that, I don't know if you saw the numbers floating around where when I think it's when Spurs come to town, their fans will pay £30 a ticket, and to sit in the same section. Some of the same sit in the same section of the stadium. Our home fans will pay £50, and so that's going to price people out. And that means if you're paying, if it's me and my 2 kids and my wife, that's £200 to go watch a game. And if I show up and watch a team kind of, give a half an effort and get played off the park, like, I'm not going to be happy. I probably would boo at that point.
Yeah, it's difficult. Like, if the players aren't showing up, then it's hard to create an atmosphere. Like, and in my opinion as well, St. Mary's is quite hard ground to create an atmosphere. It's just one of them sort of stadiums that isn't built for atmosphere. Maybe like the Dale, where we used to be, was really atmospheric. But again, the fans, like I say, being priced out £50 for a ticket. I know they're playing Tottenham, but £50 is just ridiculous. And at a busy time of year, Christmas, a lot of games, a lot of other things to do, family events. It's going to put people off. And I thought maybe the wins against Norwich and Watford might start something, but we were back to square one against West Ham, and the atmosphere I wasn't there, but the atmosphere from what I heard wasn't great. So it's not looking very promising, but hopefully we can turn it around, maybe with some of the other clubs that still coming, like Brighton and teams like that, Burnley we can get wins from. But it's a toxic atmosphere really, and it's one which is, I don't know how we can do it really. It's just sort of the players have got to do something to make it a better atmosphere, basically, I think.
Yeah, and Ralph has been he hasn't really criticized the fans. He's asked that the fans kind of get behind the team, but he's also said that the players have to earn it, right? The players have to do this, and I think that's the best the manager can do. He's put in a really weird spot. It's tough to answer that question, and the truth is the team just haven't put in performances at home, and it's got to be hard when people are booing you and yelling at you, and you know, it's a bad situation all the way around. But I think this is one of those things where, like, you know, the fans may be entirely right within their right to boo, but this is one of maybe those situations where you can be right, but it's not going to help the situation. So maybe you just put that aside and realize, like, we're here for the football club and we want the football club to do well. And so I'm going to set this aside and maybe voice that in another way. But then the club doesn't really give you that opportunity. You know, maybe all of a sudden it's, you know, are you going to do the ugly inside fan cams? And that's where you voice your frustration with the team. But, you know, that doesn't necessarily produce change. And if we want change, maybe that the audible booing is what we have to do. But I don't know. I don't think it helps the situation when the guys are out there. I think it just sometimes makes things worse, but I'm not criticizing anybody for doing that.
No, yeah, I agree. It makes things worse without a doubt. I've never personally done this myself. Just imagine hearing that if you're playing in the games, booing and like saying negative things about you. It's not going to make you inspired and want to kick on, is it? It's going to be a negative, and I don't get it when fans do it. It's something which is negative and something which, if they stop doing it, it might actually help us turn around our fortunes at St. Mary's.
Al Capone 156 says, do we start giving passes to the guys that we've criticized after the performance at Villa? Like, I think Jack Stevens may be one of those guys that's been criticized. Cedric, I don't think had a great game. I thought there were several times he was dribbled past, and you know, he somehow still found a way to make himself stand out to some people. And I think he's going to be, Cedric may be the new whipping boy for me. But I think his comments, you know, a couple of weeks ago make him stand out for that. You know, you set yourself up for that. You got to stand up and take it now. And if the performances were great, if he was putting in, you know, 8 out of 10 performances every week, I wouldn't say anything. I'd say good for you. Go get your move. But now it's like, play better so you can get your move. Because if you don't want to be around, then I probably don't want you around. And I got to support you while you're here, but I'm not. I won't cry into my pillow when he leaves, I don't think.
Yeah, it was so stupid of him to do that. Like, it's still such a long time a season to go, and no one's going to be happy with him now. Like the way he's spoken about the club and saying, "Oh, I'm going to leave it in the season," despite how well he plays. Even if he's given his all 8, 9 out of 10 every week, it's still going to be negative impacts from him because of what he said. And Stevens as well, he's had plenty of critics, but he's proven a lot of them wrong. You might have seen with the celebration as well. He was sort of cupping his ear with the silencing his critics sort of thing. So I think this is how it's going to be, I think, I'm afraid.
And last like serious question here. You know, Man United obviously not having the best of seasons. The question here is will we finish above them? Would that be? And the truth is, I don't think we will. I think you know, before the season started, somewhere around 11th or 12th would have been where we probably should wind up, or I thought we would have wound up. Now I'm not sure what's going to happen. Probably 14th or 15th is probably more likely, and I don't see United dropping that deep. Although, you know, I'm not sure. But what I guess at this point, given kind of how the season has gone so far, where do you see us finishing this season?
I think sort of 15th, 16th. We'll be nowhere near United. United will be way ahead of us come the end of the season. The players they've got, Martial, Pogba, Rashford, James, it's just far superior to us. And the resources they can spend in January as well. Obviously, they had a disappointing result from yesterday at Watford, but the past weeks they've beaten Tottenham, beaten Man City away. So they're capable of any sort of result, and we're going to be nowhere near them at the end of the season. They'll be way ahead of us.
Yeah. Better chance of us finishing near Arsenal than I think them.
Yeah, without doubt.
And I guess for me as an American fan, this will be a real test, because I don't think a lot of the people that have come to the Premier League over the past couple of seasons, and I don't mean to lump all American fans in there, but a lot of American fans know Man United and Arsenal, and they're used to Man United and Arsenal finishing, you know, being in the Champions League or being in the Europa League in recent seasons. And at this moment, both of them are out of that, which will be a huge shock to a lot of people. And the good news is maybe that forces those teams to have to make a change and do some things differently. And because honestly, I just like watching good football a lot of the time. And if I get more football out of this, that's good. I'll be happy. And if more people can be exposed to teams who are maybe not the normal top 4 or big 6 or whatever, I think it's also really good. So that's that. Last question from Christian Candler here. I am very much a Thanksgiving person, as the Southampton News Now points out. But Christmas food, you do a big kind of Christmas dinner, and if so, what is your favorite thing on the menu?
Oh, that's a good question. I quite like the stuffing. It's probably not a popular choice, but stuffing seems my favourite. I don't know why. I'm a massive fan of all of it, to be honest. Bar the sprouts, but yeah, I think stuffing for me.
Well, I mean, for you, is there what's in a traditional Christmas dinner in England that maybe I'm not aware of, or maybe some of the other listeners that if they're not from the England would not be aware of?
So you would get turkey normally, stuffing, so like sausage, pigs in blanket, which are like sausages with like bacon wrapped around it. You get carrots. Most of the time you get Brussels sprouts, parsnips, which is sort of like a potato-based thing, roast potatoes with gravy on top, and then sometimes like cabbage or lettuce, something like that. That's generally what you get. And then you get, afterwards, you normally have like a mince pie for like dessert, or like a Christmas pudding or Christmas cake.
All right, yeah. I mean, we wind up with essentially the same food we'll have for Thanksgiving. It'll be a lot of the same stuff, a lot of mashed potatoes, turkey. I think one year my mother-in-law did a prime rib, which was really good. I think this year we're doing another turkey though. So I think for me, mashed potatoes are always my favorite. I like mashed potatoes and gravy, and I put gravy on everything. So I think that's for me. I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually really looking forward to the fact that we're not making it at our house. So that's the big thing. We do have a couple of breakfast things that we do because we have everybody over in the morning for the kids to open their stuff. So I'll do some things Christmas morning, but that's easy. We prep it the night before. I put it in the oven, and then I kind of just hang out and relax and hope it's not raining, which I will never complain about, really, because you guys deal with it much more than I do. But yeah, I mean, I don't, dude, I just want to say thanks for doing this, Tom. It's been great to chat with you again, and nice to have another win. And maybe I should just schedule you right now for next week. Fixture unknown, but just same time, same place.
I reckon so, definitely another 3-1 win.
Hopefully the same result. Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks again for doing this, and enjoy your Christmas with your family. And we will talk to you next time.
Cheers. You too. Have a great time.
And that does it for this episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Special thanks this week goes out to Tom Mason. You can find him on Twitter at Tom_Mason18 or on Instagram at TMaso19. Links to those, of course, are in the show notes. Tom, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule, your time off from university, to chat with me. Luckily, Saints had a win. I think that makes it much, much better. So we'll get you back on the show again soon. Hopefully a similar result and some improvement overall in the team. If you are enjoying the show and you are not doing so yet, you can follow it on Instagram and Twitter. We are at SFCDELL_IVERY. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/SFC Delivery. Links to all of those things and links to sign up for the newsletter. Subscribe to the show can be found at southamptondelivery.com, which is the website for the show. Links to that, of course, are in the show notes. This is the holiday period, so I do want to say once again, thank you so much for listening. It's an honor to be able to do this show each and every week. We are approaching the 3-year mark, and this show is special to me for a lot of reasons. And one of those reasons is the fact that I get to talk to so many wonderful people, and I have the chance to share their opinions and get other people's opinions about the team. And really the fact that I just get to enjoy this team, for better or worse, with all of you, makes me feel really good. So thank you again. We will be back, of course, next week with another show. Hopefully Saints are doing continue to do well, and we can do that. But the show would not be possible without the patrons of the show, so thank you to all of you. If you want to be one of those, you can sign up at patreon.com/SFC Delivery. You get access to a private chat, priority for having your questions answered on the show, and the $5 a month patrons get an extra podcast episode per month. And the show couldn't go on without the partners of the show. The Southampton page on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook is where you should go for all of your Southampton FC news and needs. The show comes out on Tuesdays. The newsletter comes out on Fridays, but a lot happens in between there. You can keep up to date with all of that by following the Southampton page on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And also Matt Beeling, who runs the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. He does the logo for the show. So thank you so much for, 3.5 years ago, getting a random DM from me on Instagram asking for some help. I really appreciate everything that you've done, Matt. So thank you so much. That does it for this episode of the show. The music for the show, of course, comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the end of show credits that are probably already over because I'm talking for too long is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. Links to all those, of course, are in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to hear from you all soon. If you want to leave me a Christmas present, that's great. Leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen. That really does help. But thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. And until next time, remember, together, we march on.